and when the truth comes out.
Yeah, well,
So you're saying they had a lot of water?
Yeah, they had a. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me separate.
Yeah. Oh, that's water. Oh, he meant a glass that big of sake.
Yeah, kampai. Yeah, you'd be kampaiing it for a while with that one. Yeah. Yeah, Toyota, a shadow of its former self.
So you're still doing a lot of aerospace?
What's that?
You still doing a lot of aerospace?
Yes, we are. Actually, we're getting. Let's see, 1, 2. We have 4 guys in Brazil right now with Embraer.
Are you going to be a judge down there?
We have 2 guys in Australia with Train Company.
That's cool.
3 guys.
We need to figure out a way to do the show down there.
Doing plant consolidations and
one of the
lean
main reasons why I want to go
manufacturing and
down.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he got me a media credential, but
We got a tremendous.
No, I want to lay the groundwork.
And
do it
we're
right
going to be doing some work
next
in
year.
Japan. We got work coming up in Korea, China.
You know, they have a hotel, a media hotel now that's down the road a bit from the Ritz. But
So
you're going to do the show. If
what's
we're going to do
happening
the
with
show,
the,
we need to be right
anchor
on the
program
ground.
between
Absolutely.
Boeing and EADS?
EADS isn't going to. They're not going to bid on it twice. They got screwed once. They're not going to get snookered again.
So it'll just go to Boeing?
Sure, that's what they had the protest all day. They wanted to get rid of more of those 767s. I mean, that's what they wanted to do. The line is really low. They're losing their tail on it. They can't push out the 787 again. Another delay. They're not going to get that thing in the air. Air India now is the first. The first guy was supposed to be Northwest. They're not here anymore. The second one, I don't know how many of them, but these companies have gone out of business.
Okay, so I heard an argument that part of the problem is because of Boeing restructured itself out of manufacturing, did a lot of outsourcing, and they're not able to line up all those ducks.
Yeah.
So what they used to do themselves are having other people do it for them, and that Mullally had something to do with that.
No, Mullally was against it. Mullally wanted to take the chairman's job, and the chairman got something else. I'll tell you what. That's one of the things. Outsourcing was a tremendously stupid move for them, because the volumes are low, the regulation and rules are astronomically high, and the technique, the black magic to make those bits, it resides in only a few heads. So if you don't have the tribal knowledge, you shouldn't be in that business. And they went out, they brought in I hate to say it, an automotive MBA. And he told them how to do it. And so they wound up losing their ass. So that was number 1. Number 2, we worked on everything except first structure and skins. We didn't do any of that, because the guys that were on it said, oh, no, we're the smartest engineers in the world. What makes you any smarter than us? Nothing. So, you can go piss off. We don't need any help. Well, we have a lot of experience in the composite, the black metal, and these guys had virtually none. Guess what? It's a screwing time. You can't use rivets anymore. They don't like that. You know what? We're on, aren't we? Begins in 0. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, Ben's going to run the intro now, right, Ben?
Yep.
Autoline After Hours is brought to you by Bridgestone, passion for excellence. Chevrolet, the all-new Chevrolet Cruze. Get used to more. And by Dow Automotive Systems, innovations for clean powertrain solutions.
Well, it's great to be back in the studio with the Autoextremist present.
John, how are you?
It's great. I'm doing terrific. On a freezing cold night in Michigan. Oh my God, is it cold outside.
Coldest night of the year so far.
Geez, I got out this morning, it was 1 below 0.
Yeah, it's
1 below 0, F.
It's going to be colder than that tonight.
I know. But also joining us is Gary Vasilash from Automotive Design and Production Magazine. Great having you here, Gary.
Thank you for being here.
And Sandy Munro from Munro and Associates.
Yes, where we say it's cold enough to freeze the nuts off a bridge.
Well, we'll be getting into a bunch of stuff with Sandy later in the show, but one thing I wanted to get your reaction to, Peter, is Super Bowl was last Sunday. A lot of advertising.
A lot of advertising.
A lot of it got a lot of attention, and especially that Chrysler ad with Eminem in it and introducing the tagline, imported from Detroit. And you had some things to say about it in your column this week.
Yeah, no, it was very well done.
I love the ad.
Yeah, very cool. But I threw some cold water on because I thought the local reaction you got to set aside because it was just ridiculous. I mean, some of the local TV stations, it's like, really? I mean, in the morning, that's all they talk about.
Yeah, I know. They went, yeah, way over the top.
So we'll set that aside. I thought it was really great, superbly written, superbly shot. Putting the 200 in there was a huge mistake.
The Chrysler 200.
Yeah, it should have been the 300. Or should have been the 300 and then not say any model at the end. It should, if it's a postcard to Detroit from Chrysler, then it should just say Chrysler. You know, don't get caught up in.
Well, I agree.
Well,
because
the 200 Sterling Heights and the 300's Brampton.
I get it.
Ontario, so.
I get it.
So what Gary's saying here is that, you know, the 200's made in the U.S., the 300's made in Canada.
But I also
imported from Detroit.
I also got the emails from people saying, "Oh, this is great. What is this? What does Chrysler have to do with Detroit, with the Italians and all that?" So I just, whatever. So at the net of it is, did it make people around here feel good? Yes. Did it make people outside of this town or region think about Detroit differently? Maybe for a nanosecond.
Au contraire. I have to jump in. I was in the deep south, freezing my
Bridge off. Your bridge?
Yeah, those bridges were just, the nuts were flying off. And I was at a bar while the Super Bowl game was going on, and one of the people at the bar had said, "Well, where are you from?" And I said, "Detroit is close enough." Detroit? That's how the evening started, okay? And that Detroit, I can tell right off the bat, cool. I have an issue, and now I'm looking around, where's the exits, you know, what do I have to throw? And anyways, that ad came on. I mean, everybody was yakking and making noises and throwing popcorn and stuff like that. That ad came on. All of a sudden, it went dead calm, dead quiet. There's people there from all over the place. Most of them are from the South, and we all know about, you know, we ain't buying no government motors, cars, and stuff like that. I was right there, and when that ad went over, the guy turned around and he said, "You said you're from Detroit?" I said, "Yeah, that's right." That was a hell of an ad. And the next thing I know, we're talking about Chrysler vehicles.
Oh, great. Well, I hope
I'm telling you, it was.
I don't think that's a universal reaction outside of this country, but I'm glad it was then.
Well, you mean outside this area?
Yeah.
Do you think it got them any credibility at all because of Eminem? I mean, do you think that people who, you know, young people might say, you know what, maybe that Chrysler brand I ought to look at?
You know, I don't know, because most people did not like Eminem in the Lipton spot. And then I just read where Chrysler's trying
Which was another ad on
which was
Super Bowl.
animated.
Yeah,
Right.
he was like a
Yeah.
cartoon
Claymation guy.
sort of thing, yeah.
And I understand Chrysler's trying to lure Eminem back to do more stuff. If I was Eminem, I'd say, you know, I did my thing. I'm not going to do that anymore. But that's just a...
Of course, how did those Snoop Dogg things work out for them? Remember when they did those
Terrible.
things?
Well, that was with Iacocca,
Right.
too.
Or as Charles Barkley says, terrible. Let's talk about some of the other ads. I thought Audi was overwrought, overdone, and as I said on the site, they need to get away from this pissing contest with Mercedes. They're not doing themselves any favors. They need to get away from that.
I found the ad amusing.
Yeah, it's amusing, but it's just like, really? It's a long, what do they say, a long trip down the pier to get, I mean, it just doesn't go anywhere for me. And if the net is heaping derision on Mercedes, then why are you doing it? I'd be talking about Audi.
Did you look at those ads, the YouTube spots that they did on those? I mean, the Kenny G thing is just hilarious.
Yeah, no, it's hilarious, but it's just like, I want to know why Audi. They still need
That's
to be.
a good point.
They still need to be talking to the American consumer. Why Audi?
Because all they were saying is, oh, don't just automatically go to Mercedes, come to us. But what's the reason for doing
Yeah, my attitude on that is, boy, that's a lot of money and it's a lot of investment. So I want to know why Audi. If I'm the Audi client, I'm telling my ad agency, why us? Show me why.
Okay, Hyundai. Hyundai had the snap out of it with the Elantra.
Yeah, I like that. What was the other one?
Well, Volkswagen, Darth Vader.
Oh, yeah, that's the one we should.
Yeah, the Darth Vader everyone loved was cute. I like the Black Beetle one better. I really like the Black Beetle. And,
Why?
you know,
Because it didn't show the car. The car is still a year away. So why'd you like that one?
I just thought it was very clever, very intriguing to me. I thought the Darth Vader, yeah, of course, you put kids and animals in spots. It's like,
Right. I was talking with Jean Halliday, and she was saying, yeah, they always tell you, if you want to have good ratings, put a little kid in your ad or put a dog. And as she pointed out, that ad had both.
yeah.
So what about Ford not being there?
Well, they were in the pregame.
They were in the
They
pregame.
owned
I mean,
the
but-
pregame.
I think, you know, that's
Game part, I mean.
they calculated, they're right before the game, and that works for them, and I think it's fine. Because, you know, Chevy had a big buy, and not all of it was successful.
Right.
To see the USA spot in the actual show, Glee,
That followed the Super
was
Bowl.
great. Some of the other stuff they did not so much.
Yeah. Kia Optima.
I didn't like it.
Oh, I thought it was great. I thought it was a good Super Bowl ad.
Yeah. Everyone disagreed with me on that. I just personally didn't like it, but that's all right.
So, is that all the car ads? There were 9 of them, 9 different car.
No, there were others in there, but I don't have my.
Oh, Mercedes. Mercedes had all the Mercedes starting up on their own and driving. It didn't work for me. It just didn't work for me.
This is the 125th anniversary of Mercedes, and yeah, we got to see a lot of cool Mercedes. You have no, if you're not a car freak like we are, you don't know what you're looking at. And I just said, what was the net message? I don't think it went anywhere. Yeah, I love seeing the cars. Are you kidding? They're awesome machines and everything, but I just don't think it had major impact.
Yeah, I guess I'd agree with that.
One of the guys asked me if the Gullwing, if they were going to make that. It's been a while, but that was one of the comments from the non-automotive kind of people that were in the room.
They haven't seen the SLS, which has gullwing doors, but
Right.
Yeah.
I think Mercedes struggles here, just perennially with their marketing. They just, well, you know, the big problem for the German automakers is they have Germans in Germany saying what America needs to how they should market, and it usually doesn't go well for them. You know, they
Well,
need to.
maybe not marketing-wise, but man, their sales, Mercedes was #1 luxury in the U.S. last month.
So maybe they should just stop advertising.
So Peter, do you think that the presence of ads in such a big way, auto ads in this year's Super Bowl, says anything about how the industry is doing, or is that a fake?
Well, yeah, obviously.
Or is that sort of a false?
No, obviously the industry's doing better to be there.
Oh, yeah. Well, when you have 9 automakers, and
Yeah.
I think Chevrolet alone had 5 ads in the game, 2 pre-game, 1 post-game, then the Glee show on top of that.
It's certainly a barometer of an upward trajectory mindset within these companies where they just say, you know, you kind of got to spend money to make money. We've got to get our image out there. And
Well, not only that, but I mean, you know, the Super Bowl has always been for mass market brands. Doritos, Budweiser, blah, 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 blah. Here you got Audi, Mercedes, and BMW all doing Super Bowl ads. I mean, I'm blown away by it, except that, as everyone's always explained, Super Bowl advertising is all about corporate ego. And I got to believe those luxury brands being in that game that's what it's all about.
you know, I wrote a column, I don't know, a month ago about how auto companies shouldn't be on the Super Bowl, or if they are, it better be great. Chrysler did great. You know, I got a little issues
got some
with
issues,
some,
but it was a great ad.
Of all the car ads, if there was only one car ad on the Super Bowl, that's the only one that resonated, really.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only major, mega, big-time presence on that game. The rest of the auto ads kind of, you know, yeah, we like the Darth Vader one, or everybody else did.
It
I
was
just
cute.
thought it was
Yeah,
cute.
it was cute.
But, you know, if someone takes away one auto ad from this Super Bowl, it's the Chrysler spot. Everything else was forgettable.
But isn't that with like Chrysler ads? I mean, you know, George Washington beating the British up, and to me, personally, they just look like remarkably different, refreshingly different than everybody else's. It's
Well,
all
they're trying.
hot dogs, balloons, and clowns kind of come to mind when I look at they're all standard. They're all pretty much the same.
They have to do that. They've got no choice. They have to do outrageous stuff because.
Shouldn't the other guys be doing something else
Yeah,
as well?
they should. But Chrysler's got the mindset we're going to have to be outrageous to resonate.
Well, what I found interesting is it took a Frenchman,
Yeah,
Olivier Francois, who runs the Chrysler brand, and an Italian, Sergio Marchioni, who's running Chrysler right now, to okay an ad like that. Because I honestly believe if it had been left to Americans, they would have said, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that kind of an ad. It's too parochial. It's just not going to resonate elsewhere in the country.
Well, believe me, if they had screwed that ad up, that would have been the reaction, trust me. But they didn't. At least the writing was spot on. But gee, John, it's time for a Bridgestone commercial, and I like the Bridgestone ads on the Super Bowl. I actually did. I like the beaver one and the other one.
Well, let's do that right now because we still got some other things that we got to get into as well. But yeah, Bridgestone Tire is a sponsor of ours. You can check it all out at bridgestonetire.com. They've got these terrific run-flat tires they're trying to talk the auto industry into. And I got to tell you, too, I've been driving a Mazda Speed 3 all week in the snow, and I dreaded having that car to test drive. As Mazda describes it, it's a thrill-seeking machine. It's turbocharged, it's fun to drive, it's great, but I dreaded it in the snow, except that it had Bridgestone Blizzaks on it, and this thing would go through anything. I was astonished at how good it was. So if you want to learn more about Bridgestone Tire, and if you're in the OE business, check out Bridgestone OE America, but for all their retail stuff, it's at bridgestonetire.com. And one topic I wanted to get into is Ray LaHood, the Department of Transportation Secretary, came out yesterday after this big, long investigation into unintended acceleration with Toyota. And it irked me big time because Toyota done exhaustive testing of its own of its electronic throttle control system. They hired this outside firm that I'm blanking out on right now.
Yeah, that big consultancy that has offices all over the place.
Right.
Did that electronic.
And they did all kinds of electronic testing and everything. They couldn't find anything. So the DOT brought in not just its own scientists, we brought in NASA scientists. Guys who should be working on going to the moon and Mars again are being pulled into studying some stupid car throttle system. And so anyway, Ray LaHood comes out and says, hey, we couldn't find anything wrong with this thing. No big surprise.
I said, the guy who said he wouldn't drive a
Toyota. He said, go park your Toyotas, don't drive it right now. But what really pisses me off is he says, oh, there's no electronic problem. Obviously, this is all mechanical. And I'm going, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's driver error. This is
flat out
human mistake.
Like we talked about, has there ever been an incident of sticking throttle with manual transmission?
None.
None. Zero.
Are there any outside of this country? A little bit in Canada. Outside of North America, seemingly this problem doesn't exist.
Where's the coverage?
Yeah, and also, why is nobody pointing out, and this is a very sensitive topic, and I don't like bringing it up, but it is the facts, this overwhelmingly happens to older people, especially older women. They're disproportionately represented in these reports of unintended acceleration. That's never brought up. Also, every single major car company has reported incidents of unintended acceleration. By the way, Ford Motor Company is number 2 on the list to Toyota, but Toyota's the only one getting singled out. And I'm not trying to be, the guy singing the praises of Toyota, because I'm saying this is a big danger for the entire industry. And that's why the industry should be banding together to fight this thing, because, and I can't believe that. In fact, one journalist even asked Ray LaHood, is this pedal misapplication? Is this driver error? And he's like, no one up here ever said that's what it is.
I mean, this guy, every time he opens his mouth, it's really not good. He should really not stop talking because it never goes well for him.
Right. Sandy, you were saying something about Toyota that...
Yeah, well, we were having the little tete-a-tete initially. Yeah, I had one of my employees that's in Japan, he went to the Toyota Christmas party and got an earful. He used to be a Toyota guy. He quit to get into airplanes and stuff like that, and then the airplane thing got kind of old, and so he came to work for us. He worked in the States for a while, and then he went back to Japan, so he's very well connected. And so him and his buddies got together, a lot of buddies, And this is in Toyota City, and he got an earful. He found out all the corporate problems that they've got. He found out that the new way for Toyota is they will do what's regionally accepted as quality, but they are not going to be the quality leaders. And all these guys at Toyota that are real engineers, like the in-house engineers, the guys that are hired by Toyota, not the contractors, are furious. They're just out of their mind upset. There was a whole bunch of other things. Some of them could probably land me in jail, but I'm telling you flat, it's a new day over at Toyota. And I'm disappointed, I guess, on two fronts. One is, at least there was somebody that was always going to be on the ragged edge, always pushing everybody else, saying, see, we did it, yeah, yeah, yeah. And that makes everybody better. That part hurts me. And then the second thing is, I'm pretty sure I know why it is that they've moved in this direction. Toyota has gone through a cultural revolution inside. The guys that used to be the drivers of the Toyota way have been kind of shoved out, and the new group that's come in, they're more of your Harvard type folks.
MBA.
MBA. You know, I have to do it. I have to do it. Anyways, they're shoving this new way up everybody's throat. I'm glad I said down the throat.
So this regional quality thing. So if it's a B in the United States, it could be an A somewhere else, and so they would do that.
Like India, yeah.
So what they're trying to do is say, well, good enough for them.
Right.
And good enough for them, or
it's good enough for the region.
So they've
if they're
completely
gonna compete,
lost their way.
Absolutely. As far as I'm concerned, why do you think Hyundai is so good? Anybody figure that one out? Go to Hyundai. I went into the engineering staff. My new guy in Korea.
Hey, wait, maybe we should do the Hyundai Sonata ad. Right
Yeah,
now.
maybe we should, John.
Absolutely.
Oh no, they're not
Crank it on.
sponsoring, so we moved to
Forget
that
it
now.
then. To hell with them. But I went into their facility. Now I don't know if you've been through there, but that's security. I have top secret clearance from the DoD. I have never been in any facility ever in my whole life as secure as that place. I mean, the little stickers on your cameras, or sorry, your phones, the stickers on your computers that screw them up completely. There is absolutely nothing I've ever seen like that. And why? Because these guys have got something that is secret. And what is that secret? They hired every one of those Toyota guys that Toyota kicked out. And they're all over the place. They're doing kaikeku, like that's radical thinking at the top level. They're doing kind of like what we call the wall process. They call it the Obeya rooms. There's Obeya rooms all over the place. Stuff like lean manufacturing or whatever, the stuff that we do, the design profit stuff, they have something that's in Excel. It's kind of okay, but it's still something that most of the car companies don't do at all. I mean, everything you could imagine, everything that was done at Toyota, those guys that got booted out, they said, I'm not going to go there and trim hedges or cut the grass for you clowns, because that's what they normally get. And they all went to
These are
Korea.
Korean guys that were at?
No,
they're Japanese.
They're Japanese guys that went to Korea, and they're treated like gods. I mean, it's amazing. And I mean, look at it. How fast did Hyundai go from, are you kidding me, to, oh, that's a beautiful, and we talked about the what do you call it, the Equus. I mean, when I drove that this summer, when I drove that car, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was driving it, and Sokihan, my guy over there, he said, Sokihan says, well, what do you think? And I said, Mercedes, BMW, and maybe Bentley better watch their ass.
You're in
this
the
thing
back
is,
seat?
No, I was in the front seat, actually. Yeah, I was driving.
Back seat of that car, come on.
No, I was driving.
It's a passenger's car.
Yeah, it is true, but I wanted to drive it. I mean, after all, I am from Detroit.
Do you think Hyundai will ever discover vehicle dynamics for real?
They won't need to.
Yeah.
I think they need to, and I think Peter raises a good point. Their vehicle dynamics aren't quite up to snuff. I think their cars are still a little bit noisy, but that's nitpicking because the total package is so good, and I think they will get it, Peter. I think they're very aware that they're not quite up to snuff there. And to Sandy's point, these guys, they don't care who has a good idea.
Right.
They'll go with a good idea if it's a good idea.
And they'll change on the spot. I was at an auto supplier, and they said, Hyundai's driving us crazy. And I said, why is that? So they have 21 changes, and all we're making for them is seat backs. I said, 21 changes, what do you mean? Says, well, these other guys, the GM, they don't ask for any changes, and the guys over there from Ford, they don't ask for any changes, but these guys, they have 21 changes on their seat back, and we've only been building it for 7 months. I said, can I ask what the changes were? Every one of them was a refinement.
Do they get paid for the changes?
Yeah, they do. But they still complain. I mean, but the thing is, that's a tier one or tier.
Well, I'm just,
tier
you
two
know.
supplier, right? That's the only.
Okay, would the other guys pay them?
No.
Well, here's the
They're on their
question
own.
then, because the Japanese, and we learned from them, said no, a year before job one, you freeze the design. No changes, because as you know, design changes bring in variability. Variability leads to quality problems. Ergo, you freeze the design a year before job one. And maybe 2 years into the program, 2 years after job one, when you have a mid-cycle refresh, then you catch up with everything. Hyundai doesn't do it that way.
No.
These guys change on the fly. So how do they keep their quality up at the same time?
The only reason they make a change is to refine the product. And what these guys showed me, and really, I don't know, I can tell a little. What I saw was things that were going to make it easier for the operator to put the product together. That was one change that I saw. Another one was, in general, to reduce the cost but improve the quality. And the third one was just, I mean, it's just a refinement. It's kind of like, that's really clunky. Let's just make it a little smoother. It makes it easier for the presses to shoot the plastic, or in this case, these were insert molded, like there was a framework and then you shot around it. All of these little things that would improve the output, or the throughput, I should say, the productivity, the quality, and in some cases the cost. Every one of them.
So when we talk about this, we generally say, oh, Toyota ought to watch out, because look at how good Hyundai's getting. But I mean, isn't there a whole lot of companies between them that these guys ought to worry more than this guy?
Here's the difference why I think I can answer part of that is that Toyota buyers, up until recently at least, weren't going to run to General Motors, Ford, or definitely not Chrysler. But, you know, Hyundai, it's sort of Asian, let's go check them out. And because, of course, they've got this raising perception of how good they are, Toyota is going to lose more to Hyundai than GM, Ford, or Chrysler, or anybody else is.
Well, Korea used to be owned by Japan. I mean, they used to own it. That was one of their territories or something.
Right.
And there is a link. I mean, our Japanese guy and our Korean guy get along way better than any of the other two.
Wait a minute, I thought that
combinations
the
we got.
Japanese and the Koreans couldn't stand each other.
And you know what? That was the case, I guess, when your dad was still alive, or when my dad was alive. But now it's totally different. They look at themselves as allies against the Chinese. So
How do they feel about you?
You know, same as everybody else, just like you. Good days, bad days. You sure you don't want a beer?
Hey, this is probably a good segue point, because I want to come back and start talking about covetic aluminum. But first, we've got to stop a minute for another one of our sponsors, in this case, the Chevrolet Cruze. Check it out at chevrolet.com/cruze, and that's C-R-U-Z-E. They got all kinds of things on this car. Remote start. You can use MyLink app to do that on your phone. 9-speaker Pioneer premium sound system. USB port. Of course, that's not that unusual, but it's good to have in an entry-level car. 40 gig hard drive on the LTZ model. Bluetooth connectivity and OnStar and a whole bunch of other stuff. Check it out at chevrolet.com/cruze. And again, that's C-R-U-Z-E. But anyway, one of the reasons I wanted to get you back in the show is you talked to me a couple of months ago about this stuff called covetic aluminum that you say is like a massive breakthrough in aluminum.
As far as I'm concerned, it is. Yeah,
And you brought some props here.
I brought props. I mean, last time it was, well, have you got something to show us? And obviously I didn't. So this time I brought stuff.
Gee, Mr.
Okay.
Wizard.
Okay, kids, make this at home.
Felix's bag of tricks.
Yes. Okay.
Pulling stuff out.
This is covetic aluminum. It's different than anything I've ever seen before in the way of aluminum. This has 5%, approximately 5% nanofilament, okay, inside of it, with their own secret sauce.
Chip's going to go in for a close-up, I think.
What's that? Oh, okay. I'll try it. I'll hold this one up first.
And nanofilament, what do you mean by that?
Nanofilament is slightly different than nanoparticles. And I can give away just so much. But anyways, if you can get a picture of that, you can see it's loaded with bullet holes. Okay, that's from a 45, and that's fired at about 1 meter away from the aluminum.
And did not penetrate.
And did not penetrate. That should have gone through like butter. Okay, now you'll see that this is bent and been manhandled. That was some of us testing it, because quite frankly, this does stuff that aluminum's not supposed to do. Now, what's interesting about this is this piece is almost 8 years old, I think, 8 years old. And there's no corrosion. There's no
oxidation.
No oxidation at all here on this thing. Okay? So this one got a little more torture associated with it. And you can see that this has been beaten pretty badly, and it doesn't do what normally aluminum would do. Okay? Aluminum doesn't like to be beaten. It usually fractures. This doesn't. And there's another couple of things about this. Excuse me. This is almost as conductive, actually it is as conductive as copper.
So,
Okay,
so you're saying you could deep draw this and not
Oh,
split.
I got better than that. Watch this.
It's pretty thick gauge.
Yeah, but you'll see right there that there's a bullet that looks like it almost made it through. Let me show
Do those
you.
other bullets bounce back and hit people?
Well, you know what? The guy that has invented this, he came into our offices and he said, he had a flat plate that hadn't been shot. And he said, yeah, I shot that at about 1 meter away. And you know, I'm really kind of a skeptical guy. As a matter of fact, when they came in and said there was 5%
Nano.
no, he said 5% carbon in it, I got up, said bullshit, and walked out the door. It was my place. I don't have to listen to somebody. That's not possible. Okay? Well, it is possible, and that's what they're doing. There's only a few labs that can test for it. One of them is University of Dayton.
So what was the impossible part? Alloying the aluminum with the...
Making it so that this is covetic. It means it's a new kind of, it's new. It's not
Yeah, what does
like
covetic mean? I
Basically,
Googled this, and there's nothing on the web about it.
Right. This material is different. You got wood, which is not the same as iron, and aluminum that's not the same as copper. Okay? Well, this is covetic, and it's not the same as anything. It's changed completely. I can take this and melt it, all its characteristics stay, and nothing comes out of solution.
Wow.
Now, here is you might want to, if you can get up close on this. I don't know.
He's on you. He's on you.
Okay, good. Which way do I turn it? There
Right
you
there.
go.
What are we looking at?
Okay, this right here is a jacketed 45 slug.
Oh my God.
Okay, now have a look at that draw. Show me where you can get aluminum to do that.
That doesn't.
That should have
Break or
broke
tear.
through.
Yep.
And there's no tears, no breaks. You can feel it. Don't lose the bullet. But anyways, here, put that right there. The dog might eat it, and then we'd have a problem. I can't do that again.
Don't kill
but
my dog.
I'm telling you flat, this stuff, and by the way, it's not just aluminum you can do this with.
So Sandy, you suggesting we go back to high velocity forming, which I'm sure that...
I'm telling you what.
Wait a minute. We're getting ahead of ourselves there, right?
Oh, man alive. I'm telling you. We've been talking about how we're going to do stuff with that in the not too distant future, and I think that high velocity forming might be just the ticket for this style of material.
Wait.
I hesitate
We got to
to
come
call
back
it
to
aluminum.
this. Let's take another couple of
Yeah.
steps back.
Okay.
Who invented this?
They don't want me to tell you.
In the United States.
It is. This is a U.S. invention. This is the innovation that everybody talks about. They can't get money. I can't believe it. They couldn't get any money.
So you're sure this is from Area 51?
I'll tell you what. Let's talk about Area 51. This is covetic copper. Same process. Only difference is this has carbon in it, but it's copper. This had a date on it. When I first got it, they said, oh, this stuff doesn't corrode. I said, really? Copper that doesn't corrode? And there was a date. It said 2001 or 2002. I can't remember on it, right? Okay, so I'm looking at it. And I said, huh,
Because it's semi-bright and shiny copper. It looks like copper.
It was
I know.
brilliantly bright before.
Not
I said,
green.
no. And I asked him, I said, because this was brilliant. Looked like it had just been done. I said, when was that cut? And he said, well, that was cut in 2002. And I said, is that so? So this doesn't corrode? Nope. So let me test this. So you've been in my place. I got up out of we have a sales room. I got up out of the sales room. I walked out the door, and right over there is the emergency exit to go outside. And it was like, I can't remember when it was, December or January. And I took their magic piece of copper and threw it into the snow. And I said, we'll come back in March and see, and closed the door. And this is what I picked up when the snow melted.
Last
it doesn't corrode. It doesn't turn green. It's dirty. I mean, if I rub it, I can take the mud that came from the from the snow off, but it didn't corrode. It doesn't do anything. And here's the best part. At 350 degrees, I don't know if you know this, but copper doesn't conduct anymore. 350F, it doesn't work. This works fine. As a matter of fact, it goes in the opposite direction. This actually becomes more conductive.
You really are Mr. Wizard, aren't you?
I am.
All right,
And-
so what's-
let me
oh,
ask
no, you can't have now.
Let me ask you this. So this, if I strap this to this wrist, that means I get that balance that they talk about on late night TV, right?
And
It's not too cumbersome. It seems like it'll.
Cancer out of you as well.
Yeah, it looks like it'll work good. Late night TV, I get it now.
All right, so
I'm gonna make a
outside
helmet out of this.
outside of lightweight armored vehicles, what's the use of this stuff?
I want a lightweight armored car. I want a car that's crash worthy and light. I mean, I think, well, at least two of us here will share our same viewpoints on electric cars. I think it's going to be the technology of the future, and it always will be. At least until somebody can come up with one of those magic things that they had on that DeLorean that, you know.
Flux
you could go up-
capacitor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I want
You have
of
one in
those.
your bag?
No, not yet, but soon. But if we're going to go in that direction, we better have something that's going to make a huge difference as far as weight's concerned. And this thing is, these materials are quite a bit stronger, and I was asked not to go into that. But I will tell you that our friends at the Department of Defense are very interested in this, not just because of its capability for catching bullets, but also because of its strength characteristics, the fact that it doesn't corrode. I mean, if I could make a car that didn't corrode and I didn't have to paint it, like, I'm not saying I'm a tree hugger, but I don't see any reason for painting anything if we don't have to. I don't want to make the world any dirtier than it is already. And if I can figure out some way of getting around that kind of a problem, I'm in. And as far as I'm concerned, if I can make electric motors that don't lose their efficiencies as they get hot, what the heck? I mean, I'm in on that one too.
So why wouldn't you paint that?
Because I don't have to. I always do anything I have to. I don't want to do anything more than I have to. I don't have to paint it. It doesn't corrode. It doesn't do anything. So if I make a frame out of aluminum, I don't have to anodize it. I don't have to paint it. I don't have to do anything to it. It's done. It's going to be like that forever. Imagine making a ship out of this, or an airplane that you don't have to paint. I mean, they'll paint it anyway because they need advertising. But the thing is, I mean, there's a lot of it's got a lot going for it. I'm very excited about it.
So do you think this has sort of nearish term potential for the auto industry?
And the auto industry will take about 5 years to test it to make sure that it does everything it says it does. I think the aircraft industry and the Department of Defense will probably move faster on it than the auto industry will. But I don't, in 10 years, I'll be lucky if I can make it another 6 months. So if I basically help this thing get going a little bit, as far as I'm concerned, this is a worthwhile endeavor. I mean, I got enough money to probably get me through the rest of my life. I'm looking for that karma stuff now, man. And I'm not going to get it by wrapping a copper band around my wrist. This, to me, is...
I don't know, late night TV. This guy can't stand up out of a bar, but he puts a copper thing on. Hey, I'm good.
That guy might have been in the bar in the Super Bowl.
He may have been. Maybe that was a guy. You're from Detroit. I'm so glad to meet you. I'm buying a Jeep right now. But that's No, this is kind of cool stuff.
Barry, what were you asking about? Rapid forming, or what were you?
There's
Explosion forming.
high velocity forming, where basically it was a aerospace development where you would literally use explosives to.
Who needs stamping presses,
It's
right?
exactly right. So I mean, basically, you just had the the female part of the die, and then you just shot the thing into it.
Blow it up.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
So you might be able to do that with this covetic aluminum.
oh, you can do it with a lot of different materials because the material moves so fast that it doesn't have induced stresses. Induced stresses are a problem. We don't want those. This material, I mean, when I look at that, and
Which is where the 45 slug did not go through.
didn't go through, and I look at the way it's changed, like on the other side here. I don't see any rips, I don't see any tears, I don't see any lines of elongation that I would be expecting. Yeah, like I say, I was a huge skeptic when I saw this thing, and I am a skeptic.
So is this Defense Department expensive?
No, this is not Defense Department expensive, and it's not automotive expensive either. Once you can get it into like right now it is, because you can only make about that little bucket there. That's about as much as you can make right now because there's no furnaces. Just like the Bessemer converter had to be, you had to have a big one in order to make steel. Same thing is true with this. It's got a special secret sauce that has to be manufactured, and they need. We're working with them. Yeah, we're going to probably wind up with that. Actually, we were talking a little while ago about Munro having a new strategic partner that has lots of money. And they want to grow Munro to.
You've got a new partner for your company, is what you're saying.
It's a strategic, a strategic alliance kind of a thing. And these guys don't have any engineering, but they do a lot of manufacturing here in the U.S. and abroad, and they're pretty much vertically integrated, except they don't have that much depth in new product development. So. This, coupled with a lot of other things that are sitting out there, they thought, you guys usually work on a variety of different things because they don't want to have every egg in one basket. So let's see what we can do. So that's it's my big announcement for the day. It's,
No,
cool.
this is cool stuff.
Fascinating.
Well, let me ask you something. You're not a optimist as regards electric cars. Some years ago, you were talking a lot about Stirling engines. Are you still pursuing that?
No. No, actually, the one that I thought had the most opportunity as far as engines are concerned is a thing called it's called the Vengeance engine, and what you could call it is an encased turbine. That had lots and lots of potential, and they got it to work. But there's virtually no money to throw at it. The banks aren't lending, the investors aren't investing. Everybody's sitting on their hands right now. So, but if I was going to throw support behind an engine, probably that'd be a different kind of engine. That'd be it. But I truly believe with the there's a new alcohol-based fuel wood alcohol-based fuel that could come out, and dirt cheap to manufacture, and it's green and all this other stuff. That probably is going to give electricity a run for its money. And it's not our first kick at the cat as far as electric vehicles are concerned. I worked on the EV1, and my neighbor had a Baker electric. So, and the fastest car, the first car to beat 100 kilometers an hour was an electric car. Great. All we got to do is figure out how to give it some power. How do we give it juice? And if somebody comes along with a fuel cell that actually works and isn't just another professor project, or if somebody comes along with a battery that is renewable and isn't going to pollute the every old mine shaft in North America, I'll probably get on the bandwagon. But right now, I have a hard time believing that an electric vehicle is going to be the wave of the future. People are going to get tired. Now, there is something that did happen. There's the Koreans have got the best battery I know of right now. I should mention that too. I'm not just yakking here. We took every battery basically that's available in the world right now, tore them down to nothing, did the testing and whatnot, tore them down to pieces to find out how much everything costs. I mean, right down to the elements. We go right down to nothing. And the Koreans, of all the things that we've seen so far, the Koreans are the best. But there's some new German one. I've forgotten the name of this company, but they claim that they've got a car that'll go 380 miles. I think they took it from, I don't know, they ended up in Frankfurt anyways. I can send you a link if you want.
Yeah. You know, Mercedes just announced, I thought it was Mercedes, of going with some company that I'd not heard of before.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's it.
That's the same one. I'm not sure if it's a
search that.
Mercedes or, yeah, it's a Mercedes. And they're also doing a deal with BMW as well. But it's a German company. They say they've got magic, and, you know, optimistic, but skeptical as hell. I want to see it. I want to see how they're doing it. But so far, the best ones I've seen are these new Plastonic lithium-ion deals that we've got sitting at Munro.
So lithium polymer batteries.
Yeah, polymer batteries.
So they are in the Hyundai's using them in the Sonata hybrid.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's take one more short commercial break and get into rapid fire, where we get into everyone's questions. And the short commercial break will be for DowAirify.com, which is this new type of particulate filter for diesel engines. Very low back pressure. You can upsize it, you can downsize it. It can go on just about any kind of a diesel engine that there is. Would help automakers meet diesel emission standards at a whole lot lower cost. You can read about this thing at DowAirify.com, and Airify is AERIFY. So, and if you don't remember these URLs, just go to our website and click on their logo there. But Ben, I think it's time to get into rapid fire here. Let's bring up that graphic. Buck Van asks, if Toyota and Honda are reducing auto manufacturing in Japan because of the yen-dollar relationship, why did Honda move Goldwing manufacturing back to Japan from here? You're the manufacturing guy, Gary, here. If the yen's getting stronger, why would Honda move their motorcycle production back to Japan?
Well, I would just perhaps guess that if we look at worldwide markets, it's probably better to have them centered in Asia, where there's probably greater sales. Yeah. Therefore, they can more readily use that facility in Marysville to make cars, where they're going to get a better margin on it. That would be my guess. What do you think?
Yeah, logistics are the same thing. There's lots and lots of people that are driving motorcycles in Asia, and not so many driving them in Europe.
Yeah, but we're talking Goldwings. We're talking like,
right.
You know,
but I mean, but
big
still,
bikes.
but the numbers,
big bikes.
Yeah, and the numbers here would be comparatively small.
Right.
Okay, John Wills says, how much does the special aluminum and copper cost compared to traditional material?
Can't talk about
I can't. Well, I can.
Is it more or less?
It's right now. It's more because I can only
only
make it in
makes that
small
much.
batches. But once we get into major amounts of volume, then it'll probably be the same. I don't see any difference.
Okay, here's a comment from George. He says, question for Sandy. Remind us again how much you hate fasteners in the manufacture of cars.
Here, let me just get into here. George, you're my kind of guy.
It's the end of rapid fire.
Oh, it's too late. Sorry, George. You're out of luck.
No,
I'm gonna,
go ahead.
Okay. Here is a standard accelerator pedal. See? Fasteners. More fasteners. More fasteners. This is something that we talked to folks about a long time ago. Look, no fasteners, one piece. Last time you said, well, talk to us a little bit about, you know, your process, the design profit process. Well, you know what? When you map this, what's a map? When you map this, this is a diesel. This is a 2.1 liter VW diesel engine,
And
turbo.
every step of what goes into making it.
Here
Oh
you
my
go.
God.
There you go. That's everything.
Holy
This time I
shit.com.
came, exactly, holyshit.com. And every one of those little buttons there has got everything imaginable inside. So I can tell you how much machining is in it. I can tell you what the square footage costs are. I can tell you the cost of everything, the weights. And I can actually predict the quality too. So when you do that kind of stuff and you got all the data, then all of a sudden this starts to look like shit.
Which is the pedal with all the fasteners.
Right. So it kind of like drives you, and the kind of software suggests maybe you should do something else.
Except you got to buy a machine to make that, and you've already got the press.
And you know what? That's why people go out of business. Because they say, but I'm a stamper. I know stamping. So I got to keep with this. And while he keeps on going with that, some guy who has nothing invested in the industry said, well, I never made an accelerator pedal before, but
Seen the bar
seems
too?
to me. Okay, now, here's the best thing. This is an old example. Lots of people have seen these things, and oh, God, everybody knows that now. Ha, 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 ha. He reached into his bag one more time and pulled out, this is a brand new accelerator pedal, a brand spanking new one. We just got this. It's still got the tag on it. I have to kind of like turn it this way so people don't see who it is. But look, it's got a steel rod.
Got a logo right here.
No, that's Bosch. We won't care about that. This is Bosch's part. This part is somebody else's. There's a nice metal rod, okay? And they put this nice little thing on here. I'm sure that, that won't take hardly any time at all. There's an engineer saying, well, I'm sure that the guys on the floor will figure it out in no time flat. They'll figure out how to, here, you can do that.
Yeah, I'll
but
spend
the
the rest
best
of the
part of
evening
this,
doing this.
Yeah, the best part of this is, look at this. This lump right here is made out of plastic. So they take this and shove it inside, and then they put a couple of screws to hold it in place. That's what we want.
See, there's no fasteners on this.
What's that? Yeah, I know, but we'll see how long it takes you to put that together. I brought that. If I'd have known they were coming, I'd have brought more, games for you and stuff. So, but anyway.
Good comment, George, or good question, George.
Yes, thanks, George. Keep up the good work.
007 Mitch W. says, for Mr. Munro, what's really making cars heavy and what's going to be done about it over the years?
What's really making
These metal
the
rods.
occupants? I'd say we get them on a diet. No, actually, what's really making them heavy is every time we reduce the weight, either with material changes or design changes, something else comes back into it that's going to try and drive up the weight. So airbags are not free, and they're not made out of air. As we get into better crash worthiness, the objective here is to go for a ride and actually survive it. So we could probably make them lighter, but they wouldn't be quite as safe. So you have trade-offs in cars all the time. Right now we're doing the utmost we can. Like for instance, I talked about engines. We worked on an engine for Chrysler, the new one that they got out. It's lighter. It's got less parts. All of this stuff here makes a big difference if you apply it early enough. It has more horsepower, more torque. It's got a lot of stuff on its, it's got a lot of things that really and truly make it lighter, faster, better, all the stuff you want. But then it's got electronics and whatnot that tag onto it, and now we got emissions, and now we're going to have to, turbocharge it and stuff like that. So it's going to bring the price. It's because we want fuel economy, a turbocharger. It's going to add weight. So
weight and cost. Espo says, on today's Autoline Daily, you showed the Renault Captur concept car. The front end has a strong resemblance to the CEO and president of Renault, Carlos Ghosn. I hadn't thought of that, but I guess it does. Comment from Tim, what does everybody think of the idea of Fiat moving its global headquarters to Detroit after buying out Chrysler?
They'll string Sergio up in Italy if that happens.
Yeah, ain't going to happen.
You don't know what's going to happen there.
Why would it happen?
Where did that come from?
Well, what happened is a lot of Italian business people are complaining that the cost of doing business in Italy is sky high. And they're right. Italy's a mess.
Right.
And so other Italian companies have left Italy. And Sergio's saying, hey, maybe we put these two companies together and we make the headquarters in the United States. I think he's throwing out the gauntlet to the Italian government to say, wake up, guys, because I will do it if this doesn't make sense to me. Wow. So I think he's stirring things up, and bully for him for doing it. And I'm sure we've got some calls coming in. Ben, why don't we bring in one of our calls?
Hi, this is Jeff W. from Albany, New York. I just wanted to hear the panel's opinion on another one of GM's recent management changes, making Steve Gursky head of global product planning. Is this a good thing, a bad thing, or another WTF move on GM's part? Thanks.
Funny, we were just talking about that. Gursky's a very smart guy, as John knows.
I say Steve Gursky is one of the smartest, brightest guys I've ever met in my life from anywhere.
But he has no background in product development. He doesn't even have a gut barometer about what products should be. He only knows from hanging around there. So it's severely questionable from where I sit. I think it's a blueprint for disaster or a computer screen for disaster. I don't know. But that's not good.
So is there somebody that you think that they could have put in that spot?
Yeah, I'm sure there are people at General Motors who could do that job.
Well, I'm with Peter. I think, if you're going to be in charge of product, you got to have a gut feel. You got to know the product. And I'd put it this way. Dan Ackerson, I believe, would never put somebody in charge of finance who has no financial background. I just don't believe they would ever do that. So why is it perfectly okay to put people in charge of product development, product planning, purchasing, who have no experience in it whatsoever?
Just doesn't make any sense.
I think it's going to end badly.
Amortizing his salary, perhaps?
No, look, like I said, Gursky's a bright guy, and if he really shines in this, he'll make sure that he finds the right people that can do this and let them do their thing. But if they start running GM by the budget, line item by line item, it's the beginning of the end all over again.
Is that like MBA, Harvard
Yes,
MBA?
yes.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm taking notes. Okay.
Ben, let's play another call here. Bring in another call, I mean.
Yeah, this is Rick from San Diego. I'd like to thank Peter for keeping the heat on the execs at GM and Chrysler. A lot of great pieces you have lately there, Peter. And for Sandy, on the 787, coated fasteners and going into composites and fire test issues and subcontractors that couldn't cut it and dumped a bunch of stuff in our lap, and we're a subcontractor, so it's good news, bad news. We're a lot busier, but there's a lot of work to be done. Thanks.
Here's one from Jeremy from Dallas. It's a little bit long. I'll try to boil it down. He says he was reading about the Ford Focus today and read that the titanium hatchback will be $28,585. He mentions the Lexus CT200H starts at just over $29,000. The Audi A3 5-door starts at about just over $28,000. So essentially what he is saying is that, man, the Focus is up in some pretty expensive territory. So his question is the Ford Focus really that good to compete with Lexus and Audi? And even if it is, will buyers really be willing to pay that kind of money for that nameplate?
Well, let's review. That has every single option possible that you can get on.
Fully loaded.
Fully loaded.
The others are base price.
Yeah, you cannot find an A3 to save your life for $29,000 anywhere unless you ordered one. You ordered a bone stock one from your dealer and you waited 5 months to get it. So, yeah, this is the big test. This is 2011. This is the new day. This is the mainstream American car is now the C-Class. American consumers just don't know that yet, but guess what? It is. Focus starts at $16,000, $16,100, or you can option to everything to $28,000 if you want to. But the idea of a premium, smaller car is here. Now, whether the consumers buy into it, Chevy's betting, to bring up the Cruze again, that, we're a little more realistic. The Cruze is more realistic. It doesn't have all that stuff because, we're more realistic. Ford is saying, no, this is the new day, and some people are going to be moving down market, and yet they don't want to give up anything.
I've been driving a Taurus this past week, and it's a $38,000 Taurus, and it's
SHO?
No, it's the
front-wheel drive one.
Yeah. And I mean, it's got everything. It's a very nice car. And as I was driving this, it occurred to me that, okay, we think of it here as a Ford, right? And we know that there is Lincoln above Ford. But in the rest of the world, there's just Ford.
Yeah.
So a $28,000 Focus is competitive with a BMW or with an Audi and so on. They don't think that way. But just because we have this notion of what that should be, it's impossible you'd pay that much money for that car.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too is, because I just got Art Spinella's recent newsletter from CNW Marketing, and I was looking at the average transaction price in the U.S. right now. Transaction, not sticker price, actual transaction, is $29,000.
Yeah.
So a fully loaded Focus at 28 and change is actually below the average transaction price. And I'm not trying to make up excuses. To me, 28 grand for a Focus is a lot of money.
But
just is.
it's a lot of car, though.
But it's a lot of car, right.
Driving.
And to your point, you can buy one a whole lot cheaper than that if you don't want to pay that kind of money.
Yeah.
Blown 03 HD says, Peter, in an earlier show you mentioned you own a Fiesta. If I may ask, why the Fiesta? How do you like the car? What's your impressions of it? I thought about buying one, but when I saw the new Focus, I think that'll be my next commuter car.
That's not my only car, but I just wanted to have something like that, and I enjoy it very much. But I'm anticipating the Focus ST in 17 months. That's what I really want.
Yeah.
And that will be 30. I'm sure. That's a 250 horsepower high performance Focus. But no, I think the Fiesta, they did a fine job on it. Yeah, it'd be a lot better with another 300 horsepower, but
Well, here's a question about one of your other cars. Kurt Wiley, former GM electronics engineer, says, Audi's considered one of the fastest growing brands in the world and is the darling of nearly all automotive journalists. I raise my hand and plead guilty because of their emphasis on sporty, luxury, and unique engineering. Yet, Consumers Union and others, including J.D. Power, suggest that Audi has a reliability problem. Is Audi a brand that should be leased rather than owned? Well, I would say, look, Audi doesn't do all that well in the quality ratings. Neither does Volkswagen, for that matter. But there's two ways of looking at quality. Things gone wrong and things gone right. And when you go to the things gone right column, brands like Audi absolutely peg the needle.
The whole surprise and delight thing.
Surprise and delight. And the other thing too is, if you look at the worst cars in J.D. Power right now, they are where some of the best cars were if you go back 20 years ago. Literally. So I mean, if you look at Toyota's quality rating of 20 years ago, it'd probably be middle of the pack today. So if you thought Toyotas were pretty good 20 years ago, guess what? That's about middle of the pack today. You got to put it in some sort of perspective.
I think, consumers have to make a choice. I mean, first of all, the whole buying, leasing issue, we don't have enough time to talk about that. I mean, it gets the very essence is buy what you like and like what you buy. If something goes wrong, hey, something went wrong, but do you like the car? So you like it every time you walk up to it and you walk away from it, then that's good enough for me.
Hey, we've got another phone call coming in. Ben, let's bring him in.
Hey guys, Happy New Year. This is Youngblood in Cleveland, Ohio calling. I have a question for Mr. Munro about his covetic aluminum. I'm just wondering, is it an aluminum that gets shaped into sheets or forgings, like for an engine block? And depending on which one it is, if it's into sheets, how does it compare against the new nano steel that ArcelorMittal is making? Or if it's to be used in forging, how does it compare against the compacted graphite iron that they're using in engine blocks now? Money-wise, strength-wise, and how soon can we see it? Thank you. Later, buddies.
Okay. Well, first off, there's places for steel, places for iron, and there's lots of places for this too. Right now, we can cast it, we can forge it, and we can roll it. We can roll it into blanks. So it'll do. I could stamp it. I can do pretty much anything that you could normally do with a piece of steel. I can do more with the aluminum, this covetic, because it doesn't spring. That's why I beat it up. I was waiting for spring.
That because people may not understand.
Spring back. Aluminum doesn't go to the same place all the time.
When you stamp it.
When you stamp it,
it literally springs back.
It turns. Yeah, it goes back, but it doesn't have. it's not as consistent as what steel is.
Steel, you stamp it and it stays
You
there.
can't
stays right
predict.
there.
You can't predict where it's going to go to.
No, you can't. But this appears, and quite frankly, my sample sizes are too small. It appears that it doesn't. Okay, it welds beautifully. It machines like horribly. But we didn't have. We tried to machine it like conventional aluminum, and what wound up happening was we got wrapped around the axles. If there's any machiners out there, stuff was so gummy it went and stuck right inside. It looked like hell. It looked like we were trying to tear it apart. We just don't know. We're just going to have to figure out what the kerf looks like. We'll make tools.
I might
to make
have a
it work.
solution for you.
Well, good.
We'll talk after
I'm ready.
the show,
Okay,
'cause
good.
It'll take up too much time. But.
But anyways, everything that we can do at a normal material, this seems to be able to do. But the big thing is those materials that we were talking, or he was talking about, I've forgotten his name, Youngblood was talking about. Those materials, they separate. They come out of solution. You have to put them together, and then they're good while they're together, but then they come out of solution, and now you've got the graphite, or sorry, the nanoparticulate comes to the top, and you skim it off, and you got to do it all over again. This doesn't. Watch, I'm going to make it so I get through this week without having the buzzer go off.
Okay.
But you can't machine it.
No, we can,
But
we
you
just,
can't.
we haven't figured out how yet. My thinking is that it's going to have to be high velocity machining, and we're going to have a totally different kerf angle. Maybe we'll run them backwards. I mean, that's how we found out we do plastic. Some kid put the blades in backwards, and we ran it through the saw, and oh my God, it cuts like butter. So it could be like that. It's going to be one of those aha moments, but I don't know.
Okay, the mayor from Annapolis, Maryland says, the final episode of Top Gear USA aired. Everyone has torn it up. I think what makes you guys the best in the business is your ability, when pointing out negatives, to offer solutions. I believe it's called constructive criticism. With that being said, how would you fix it?
Fix what?
Fix what?
Top Gear?
Top Gear USA.
I wouldn't do it. There's one Top Gear, and you know
It's a great show.
It's a great show. Please don't translate it here.
Yeah, that's right.
Come up with something else from
Yeah.
that's
It didn't work. There were a brief few instances in some of the shows where I thought, hey, this is going to get good, and then it never happened. But he goes on to say, here's my fantasy Top Gear USA season. Here's the new lineup he would have. A 30-ish liquored up Brock Yates. Any age not liquored Jim Hall. 20-ish John McElroy with long hair and porn mustache.
Oh, that's the real you.
Stig character played by Peter D. He doesn't speak, just complains.
There you go.
Oh, God. Well, I think that's pretty much what we've got here. We're at the top of the hour anyway. As we've got the calls, let's bring them in. Go ahead, Ben.
Yes, good afternoon, John. This is Warren Webb from Paris, California, and I'm calling on regards to Mr. Munro's new type of aluminum. And my question is, would this have any corrosion on adjoining dissimilar metals, like normal aluminum would, say, to steel? Appreciate the show, and wish everybody a good day. Thank you.
Good question. Yeah, what about aluminum?
That action's called galvanic action, and so far, no, we haven't seen it.
So you could weld this to steel?
No. No, galvanic action is just touching. One becomes an anode and the other becomes a cathode, and the cathode, I think it is, deteriorates or disintegrates. When we make an airplane, and if you put aluminum touching, say, stainless steel or something like that, you need it for extra strength or something, then you've got to put a barrier between it, either paint or something, so that it doesn't turn into a great big giant electric charge and it eats each other up. So the deal is that I don't have enough samples, and we haven't had enough time yet, but so far, no. I mean, stainless steel and aluminum hate each other, and that's the worst combination you can have. I have one in my office I have a stainless steel bolt and a nut on it, and cranked it up, and no, I haven't seen any galvanic action at all. None.
Fastener?
fastener. Yeah, believe it, I collect them. I mean, soon they'll be disappearing. It'll be like collecting old stamps.
Can you thread that material?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't eat up taps?
What?
Doesn't eat up taps?
And actually, if you move slow, it seems to work fine. It's when we start moving too quickly that we have problems.
Ben, we got another call there?
Yeah, John, it's Rick from San Diego. Some questions, Sandy, on the aluminum. You see that? Is it weldable? How about heat
Yeah.
treat? Notice there was no orange peel on the forming, and I'm assuming you can break form that in W.
Yeah.
And what do you think if you use high strength steel and that type of aluminum? How much weight would you save in a modern car? Thanks.
Oh, wow. Okay, there was a whole bunch of questions there. First off, the first question was, can you form it in a W? And yes, you can do that. It does weld. It welds nicely. No problems with that. How much weight could I save in a car? It depends on how much money you want to spend, I guess. If I made a car out of high-strength steel and didn't use any 1020L or 1018L, just use high-strength material, I could probably drop the weight of the car significantly, but the cost would go up. Boron steel is not cheap. Aluminum's not cheap either. You know what? That's like a near impossible question. It's a good question, but my guess is that if I only used this and high-strength steel, I'd probably use that for most of my body. Boy, that's a tough question. Maybe if price was no object, I probably could get it down to about a half. I would get 50%.
Weight?
50% weight reduction?
Sure.
Whoa!
But I mean, it would be too expensive. Nobody'd buy it.
See, but maybe you ought to talk to the aforementioned Audi with their lightweight center, the aluminum expertise they have with the ASF.
Actually, we tore apart we've torn apart. I shouldn't really. We've torn apart a couple of Audis, and quite frankly, they use aluminum to be on the safe side. Everything to me strikes me as being way oversized. It's overgauged, and if they wanted to reduce their costs, or actually reduce the weight of an AA or any of them, I would probably look at the gauging again. Either that, or I would go away from aluminum, standard aluminum, and move toward magnesium. Because I don't know if you heard, but they're announcing today that the import tariffs on magnesium is going away, and
He's got something else in his bag here.
I got a lot of stuff in here, man. I came prepared. I'm not going to get caught with my pants down here again. Where the hell is that thing? Here it is, right here. Ta-da! This is magnesium that's been using a new kind of anodizing. Okay, this is alkaline anodizing, and if they take away the nasty tariffs on magnesium, and we start using this, which doesn't pollute and can be done at room temperature, bingo, now we've got something where I don't have corrosion and the cost goes down.
Hey, I've heard about injected molding of magnesium.
Yeah,
No, it's
right.
highly flammable, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
cheap.
Yeah.
That's why in race
That-
cars in the 60s, when they started using it, it was just like, don't crash.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't want a machine idea.
Well, actually, aluminum burns up. Remember the Exocet missiles?
Yeah.
Actually, steel burns up, too. You just got to get it to the right temperature. I can make a barbecue on anything.
Ben, did we use up all the calls? Okay.
Okay,
It's
well,
like-
seeing as you guys were talking about lightweight, ta-da, I got another one. I came prepared. This right here is black metal. Okay, this is cool stuff. You want to have something really light?
What's black metal?
Carbon fiber. And it's stamped. That's
What?
Stamped.
So this is
Hey, I didn't come here just to
Avery,
be another pretty face.
Avery Lovin's company,
What's that?
Fiber Forge,
Yeah, absolutely. This is amazing stuff. I mean,
Boulder, Colorado.
absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, the
Amory
Rocky
Lovins is
Yep.
involved with that?
Yeah.
That's his company.
Yeah.
Oh,
And the
no
Rocky
kidding.
Mountain guys, and he gave me that thing. And he put a helmet on my head made out of that. I mean, if you can make a soup bowl out of carbon fiber, make mine a double. And so we're taking that to lots of different.
Let's see that.
Wouldn't that be easy?
No, No, not at all.
See,
Deep jaw. I mean, he put that bowl on my head, and I just about peed my pants. That's amazing. Take a flat stock and stamp it so I can make
I thought we were-
a bowl.
we'd be
See, now you're talking.
No,
and,
no,
you know,
not molded.
No, I'm just saying.
Stamped.
I always said that one day Amory would be right. Maybe that day has arrived. And I've been saying
right
that
a lot.
for 25 years because Amory's been around a long time talking about carbon fiber, but I've never heard of stamping carbon fiber.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That is.
And it sounds metallic.
Yeah.
So does it go into an autoclave afterward?
No, it's like sheet molded compound.
So you're starting with a flat sheet.
Yeah, and then it kind of gets heated up a bit. And,
But you don't have to autoclave it.
no, it's already autoclaved. It's autoclaved in the flat, and then you.
Huh.
So and you can also do it
This
when
might
it's
be
semi.
more amazing than your aluminum, I hate to say.
Actually, this has got a place, and believe it or not, that steel has got a place, and this has got a place. You pick the right thing for the right application.
Horses for courses.
All God's children got soul.
Yahoo! Amen, brother. So there you go.
We should say hi or good night or good morning to Simon wherever you are.
That's right.
You know you listen, Simon, so hope Tokyo's doing you well.
Yeah, and before we wrap up here, too, I want to point out that, you know, we do this show called Open Line on Monday nights, and we're thinking about doing a 24-hour open line. We need volunteers from around the world. We got people in the United States. We need people from all around the world to contact us if they would like to be a moderator for this 24-hour open line that we want to have sometime later this year. So wherever you're listening in the world, if you'd like to be a moderator as part of this, let us know. Just send us an email and
This be
we'd
like,
to hear it.
you know, a telethon, like Renzo's kids. Do I have to appear every hour? Like, you know, just to give the pitch right at the end.
You're going to be up all night long.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. Do they have to
Jerry
be
Lewis
as cute
figure.
as you, or?
No.
Oh,
No.
all right.
In fact, if my dog could talk, we'd put him on a plane and he could do part of it.
Oh, wow. But if he could talk, he'd probably tell.
Yeah, well, if he could
Right.
talk, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys. Hey, but this is a great place to wrap it up. But Sandy Munro, thanks so much for coming in. This is really cool, and you brought props with you. You get props for having props.
I'm telling you, there was no way in the world I was going to come unprepared again. No way.
Gary Vasilash with Automotive Design and Development. Great having you here, and Peter,
Chat.
always good to be with you.
It's great.
Hey, remember everybody, you can friend us at facebook.com/Autoline Detroit. Follow us at twitter.com/Autoline. Follow Peter every week, autoextremist.com. You can also find him at Twitter at twitter.com/Autoextremist. Gary, what about you guys?
Autofieldguide.com?
Autofieldguide.com. And Sandy?
Leandesign.com.
Leandesign.com. Okay, really good.
And don't forget about Witch Hunt the book.
Oh, exactly right.
March 15th.
Peter's book coming out. Yep, next month.
Witch Hunt. What a great title.
And don't forget,
Cool
too, you
cover,
can get everything on Stitcher, listen to it all there. But thanks, folks, for having tuned in tonight.
Good night, everybody.
Oh, you know what we never got
with
to
Dean Martin.
during the show, too, is your work that
Carry,
you're doing
carry.
with Chrysler. Can you talk about any of that?
Are we still on the air?
Well, there's still people watching.
Yeah, we've been helping Chrysler while everybody else was throwing rocks at them, and quite frankly, I'm telling you, it's the company to watch. I mean, there's a lot of yak all the time about General Motors this, General Motors that. General Motors is what it is. It's a gigantic elephant. It doesn't tap dance so well, but you know what? It's gigantic, and it'll always keep moving. Chrysler has been like a porpoise. I mean, they came up from bankruptcy with Lee Iacocca. They got on top of the world, and then that Mr. Eaton, sold them away, and then you got basically Daimler that stripped them of cash and resources, and then you had I don't even know how to describe those assholes, but Cerberus is. I mean, I can't say anything good, so I guess there's nothing to say about them. And now you got Marchione, and I'm telling you what, Windsor boy makes good. University of Windsor. Oh. Anyways, no, he has a good team. He's got it balanced with Europeans and Americans. He's got a lot of good things going. And then on top of that, you start looking at what I think are the best styling lines out there. But even better than that, I mean, I read before I came here, I knew that Super Bowl thing was going to come up. Do you know that they had something like 111 million hits? That's staggering. That's a staggering number. And that doesn't count YouTube. I mean, this is that kind of buzz. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. They're doing a lot of stuff right. I like the cars. We've done a lot of work at reducing their costs. And when we reduce the cost in one area, like change the materials or something like that, Chrysler's gone in and said, okay, now we got a little extra cash. Let's add a little more luxury here. Let's add a little more luxury there. There's no decontenting now. That's the rule, no decontenting. We do a lot of stuff. I've never been into that thing, but now it's right from the top. No decontenting, period, none. That's not the way people want to have their cars. And I'm going to predict that eventually you're going to have people that are going to look for Chrysler as a car to aspire to. There.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I know. I'll hear about it as soon as the camera is off.
I've driven the new 300, and I'm blown away by it. I think it's awesome car. Awesome car. The 200, I'm not so sold on. I'm just not.
Well,
come on, John. 200 is. You can put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig.
Yeah.
The greenhouse sucks. They can change the clips all they want, put new interior in it. They need a new idea there.
They do. Well, it's a placeholder. It's okay, let's keep the Sterling Heights plant open.
I get it.
So we got to at least improve what's in there until we can fix it. But the other stuff, I am very impressed by the Grand Cherokee and the Durango as well.
Yeah.
Terrific vehicles. The new Charger is actually halfway good. The Dodge Journey is really good, except that I don't like the calibration of the powertrain because they're trying to eke out the last little bit of fuel economy. And so, I mean, the torque converter wants to lock up every single chance possible. It doesn't want to kick down when you want it to get out and move. I wish they'd just loosen up the calibration a little bit and make the drivability of the car a whole lot better. And in fact, the Charger could use some of that too. The Durango, they got it nailed. The Grand Cherokee, they got it nailed. The 300, they got it nailed. You know, I wish they'd take that thinking to those other models.
If you think about how much money you have to sink into a car and how much they had to come from, I mean, they were as low as whale shit when Cerberus was with them. I mean, let's get real. That car company was sunk. I didn't think anybody'd be able to pull it out of the soup after those guys, okay? And yet here we are staring at, I'd say, at least 5 of the vehicles that I've been involved with, and we've had the opportunity to drive and watch them make changes. Those 5, I mean, I'm just blown away. I just cannot believe that people can move that fast and get that kind of result. So, for me, when I look at all the other car companies out there that have basically just went like that, right? They've just been smooth sailing. And when you look at somebody that goes from, this is like watching that Seabiscuit or whatever it was, where they're in dead last position and they win the race, right? They've been as low as you can possibly get. And now they're kicking serious ass. And I think I mean, I don't know anything about the 200 because I never worked on it. We didn't touch that car. But the 300, the Wrangler, and nobody talks about the Wrangler, but I'm telling you, that's a huge difference. I have a Wrangler outside. By the way, sorry about your front lawn. I parked. I'd already passed the place, and I wasn't going to go backwards. I'm not doing a one-way, wrong way on a one-way. If you got a Jeep, you just cruise right across.
You got to turn.
And it's that next door is like there's nobody there anyway, right?
Right.
So they probably encourage the real estate agents to know that at least somebody drove across the front lawn. So, but anyways, I mean, the new Wrangler's a good one. I love the If I was a little more ostentatious, maybe I'd go out and buy a Jeep Grand Cherokee. We got that thing in, and I was blown away. I mean, that thing is really. I mean, they've got some good stuff, but they listen. I mean, we have a lot of customers. We make a lot of suggestions, and some of them listen, and some of them don't. So we put this stuff out in front of people and say, hey, actually,
He's got one in his bag.
how hot could you make? I got to put my hand on it now. How hot can you make that foam? What kind of temperature would it live in? You're kind of,
I don't know. I know nothing about foam.
What kind of temperature could it live in?
Yeah, what temperature could that live in, do you think?
I would say it would melt in my fireplace in no time.
Actually,
Your fireplace, yes.
it's actually aluminum foam.
No, actually, it's not. But do you think it could live under hood? Do you think it would take 400 degrees F? Telling you flat.
Would you use it for?
This is paper burns at 400. Well, 451 or something like that.
Yeah, Ray Bradbury told us
But
that.
the thing is, yeah, it's in the book. But that's damn good. That is unbelievably good. So
Sound
Chrysler
deadening?
listens. Sound deadening. Imagine all of the things that are really heavy, like that fella asked about. How could you reduce the weight of the car? You don't necessarily have to turn everything into aluminum, and you don't necessarily have to go to high-strength steel. There's a lot of things in a car that, you know what, this is the ticket. This is the way to go. If I can live with this under hood, I mean...
Peter, now pull out your 45 and see how it goes.
Oh, here yeah, let's see, let's fire into this. Anyway, just feel that, okay? It's light. It's nice and light. That's what I was trying to get across. There's a lot of things that we're going to start seeing things like that on. This is the wave. I mean, there's so many things sitting out there and nobody's using them. Oh, I'm sure. Can't go wrong with a screw. I got a bolt right here, and if that doesn't work, I'll put a rivet in it. I mean, that kind of stuff, that mentality, that's just not.
It's because they have a lot of bolts and they have a lot of screws and they have a lot of Swiss machines and they've got a lot of cold headers.
There's an adage about if all you got is a hammer, all the world's a nail. Mm-hmm. So that's the deal.
Well, good.
Okay. Yeah.
This is fascinating stuff.
Well, I'm just glad that I brought props this time.
Yeah, I am too.
And I didn't even use them all. Yeah, look at this. We were talking about screws. The most advanced engine right now that we've come across is a Fiat. Everybody wants to know how they do this. This is the magic part right here.
Oh, for multi-air.
Exactly right.
That's brilliant. I think it is. I think Fiat's really onto something.
It's a snap fit. This is a snap. Everything inside snaps together. Can you believe it? Man, when I saw that, I about shit my pants. We've been talking about snap fits forever. We have no idea how much pressure goes into that, but it's a lot.
Yep.
And it's a snap fit.
Huh.
Yeah, so I think that Chrysler and Fiat is that was a fairly good buy for Fiat. They did a good job, and they got a good product.
You know the company Promess? They're in Brighton.
Why don't I know that name, but I don't know why.
They've got this very clever press, which basically measures torque when you're so for something like this.
Usually you measure crush.
Well, no. And so what you're doing is you're basically it's a like an electric screw thing that's going down. Screw.